Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're actually going to get into another note of thought. So there was a topic that crossed my mind before about from hearing some people kind of talk in regards to, pretty much men and women and the bedroom. And the topic really was regarding, should a woman be more so about what the guy's needs are inside the bedroom, being that generally speaking on a biological level means more for a guy. He can't go as long without having some, versus say a woman. And generally speaking, guys are supply and demand. They don't have as many options, where women usually have more options, so women usually find themselves to be satisfied more often. But if a guy should have a higher preference in that department versus the woman, like that, he should get his way catered to first and foremost, and then if he is down for whatever with a woman, if that should be the case. Now that was just a topic that kind of came up, not kind of pointing whether sides or whether one is right or wrong, but I'm going to give a little bit of insight and perspective on this topic in regards to the fact that you do have some guys, especially the player type of guys, who actually do a little bit of everything and set the bar to where a woman might feel, okay, I've been with this type of guy who does all this type of stuff to satisfy me. He does everything, so that becomes the bar set in terms of if this guy did all that, then now I want a guy who's going to do all those things. I'm going to first dial back to a concept that I've heard before that some people may or may not agree with, but is that if a woman, and I know a lot of women probably aren't going to agree with this, but generally speaking, if a woman has not had a lot of partners or is very young, we'll say that they're 18, whatever the case is, and they haven't had any partners, we'll say first off that they haven't done anything below 18. We'll say that, with their peers, not to make this a discussion of them getting with older guys and this and that, but just even on their peers level. Say if a girl is 16 years old, she sees a guy that she likes that's 16 years old. Say if she hasn't had any kind of intimate relations with that person, so by the time she gets 18, she hasn't had no kind of intimate relationships in terms of going to that level in the bedroom. And then now she starts her kind of real dating phase, 18 and up, and just above 18, but not, much older than 18, maybe 19. And if she doesn't have a lot of experience, the idea normally is that whatever the man presents to her, especially if she gets with someone, if she's 18 and she gets with someone a little bit older than her, that guy is able to then say, well, this is what I like to do, and she'll naturally gravitate to liking what the guy likes, because she'll say, I don't know anything else. And then so naturally, if that guy is into particular things, she'll just say, well, my taste will adapt to what he likes, because I don't know anything else. I have nothing to compare it to. And eventually she just starts liking what he likes, and is also more deeply ingrained with the emotional aspect of me and him have this bond, or whatever the case is. So I throw out that perspective because some people say that they feel that's how things should be and that's the natural order of things. Some people might say that it shouldn't be that way, but I'm just throwing that as a perspective to add weight to what I'm about to say. So let me reiterate, going back to the topic at hand, about as far as if a guy's preference in the bedroom should be more heavily weighted than the females in terms of what he wants. So when it comes to relationships nowadays, you have a lot of times where a guy might maybe want a certain thing. Guys normally have less sexual experience than women. If a guy's like, I want a certain way of things inside the bedroom, and sometimes you'll have women who go, well, no, because I want to be pleased too, and I want to be pleased in this way because they've been overly pleased from their past experience. If they have a high body count or have dealt with a guy who's very experienced, they may not have to have a high body count, but if they deal with one of those type of guys, and I mentioned this in past videos before, that kind of guy, there's not a lot of them. There's a small percentage of them. Let's keep it real, 100%. People might think this is not the case. Sometimes women think this is not the case, but I'm going to call him the player type of guy. There's a small percentage of that, maybe 20% of men who are that, maybe even smaller than that. And those guys, we know based on I can use a sample size to say the percentage based on the fact that all men know when you got a group of friends, say if it's 10, a group of 10 guys, most of the time most guys male friend groups, they're core close friends, not just random associates, but they're core close friends, sometimes not even that big. Generally speaking, probably 7 friends, maybe 6 or even 5. But we'll say generally speaking, out of that group of 5 to 7 friends, you're gonna have maybe 1, maybe 2 that get a super abundant amount of women that they don't even know how many people they slept with. And the rest of the guys inside the group are probably going to be, the majority of them, somewhere average, where they can count on their fingers how many people they've actually been with, at least before the age of, we'll say 30. They know, and even once they get to 40 or something like that, they still know a vivid memory of each person, because it's not that many. Even if it was like 12 people, 13 people, they remember every single person, every single moment, except for that, the 1 or 2 guys out of the group who, like I said, slept with so many people, they don't even have count anymore. They don't remember names because it's so many. And then obviously you might have 1 or 2 people at the bottom of the group who, barely hooked up with anybody. And so my point to that is that while people might think that there's a large percentage of guys like that, there's not. And that's how I'm just coming off with a percentage, just to say men know it, because we know it based on the friends and the people we associate ourselves around, that it's not a big number. Anyway, taking that person, that type of guy, like I said, we're going to call him the player type guy. If someone like that gets with a female, even if she's just 20 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, she doesn't have to have a big body count. If she gets with one guy like that and she's with him for a little while, his experience level is going to make her think or feel like, okay, this is the norm, what he does. And here's the thing. That type of guy is not actually, he disturbs the balance when it comes to the average man, because that type of guy, he's not trying to satisfy the woman, though the woman thinks she's being satisfied because he goes down on her, he does all these things. He's not satisfying her. He's satisfying himself. That type of guy often has an insatiable appetite for the bedroom, and he likes everything to the point where he does it sometimes because he is indulging for himself. So his mentality is like, for lack of a better word, or to put a perspective on it, it's like the world is not enough. So it's not enough to be conventional. He starts doing things that are less conventional. He even sometimes gets to the point where they might even say, I need threesomes, or I need to try crazy, outrageous things. It's not because he's ultra trying to please the woman. It's because his appetite cannot be satiated, and he'll do everything in the book to satiate that appetite. And it's being done for him. It's not being done for that person. He wants to know well, not only is he getting pleasure out of it, but how good he can be. How much can he evolve himself to be better at it, so he can be better at the game he plays, to be better at getting more women and doing all the things that he wants to do. My point to that comes down to the fact that the woman might think that he's satisfying her, but it's not for her purpose. Though as a side effect of it, she gets satisfied, but he's not doing it for her. He's doing it for himself. I'm going to bring in an analogy for this, and now including the average guy, to give a perspective to this. So the average guy is going to be a lot more particular with what he wants. He's going to say, I want it this way. Maybe he doesn't like doing things. Maybe he doesn't like going down on a girl. Maybe he doesn't like doing all these extra things, extra kinky things, whatever the case is, or whatever the kinkiness is that he likes is what he's going to want to do. And he's not going to want to do anything outside of that. I'm going to say a perspective of why that can be considered a good thing. It could be considered a good thing because a man who truly wants something should be very particular about what he wants, if that makes sense. And I'm going to say an analogy that will bring it to have a little bit more context to it. If I say I'm going to go spend a lot of money on, we'll say, a product, maybe a car, and I'm going to say, cool, I want to get that car the way I want it. I'm going to go on the website. I'm going to say, you know what? I want leather seating. I'm going to click that. I say I want to have all these extra electronic features. I want all the things that I want to pay for in that car. I don't want it to just come with anything, nor do I want it to not come with the things I want. I'm going to be very particular in it. Why? Because I want that car. When I don't want a car, a particular type of car, like say a rental car, I don't care what it comes with. I don't care that it does or doesn't have these amenities that I really want. Why? Because it's a rental. And what do you do with a rental? When you're done with it, you give it back. You have your fun with it, you give it back. That's a concept to be understood when a woman might think, okay, I'm with the player type and he's doing all these things for me. He's not doing all those things for you. He's doing them for his own enjoyment. That's the equivalent of me taking a rental car and I'm doing donuts with it. I'm running it through the dirt. I'm having fun with it. I'm banging it up. I'm doing all these great fun things with it. It's not because I care about that car that I'm driving it like that. I'm doing that because I don't care about the car, because I don't care what happens to it. It doesn't have to have all the amenities I need it to have. I don't care, because after I'm done with it, I'm giving it back. That is how the player type of person views when they're having fun in the bedroom. They're running it out. They're having their fun. They're doing what they want with it. They're not trying to please the woman. I say this to give a perspective to women to understand that when you go and say to a guy, and everyone has their own situation, own prerogative, whatever, and how they want to feel about the situation. They might say, well, I want this. I want a guy in the bedroom to do all these things, and I feel that the guy should be blah, blah. Generally speaking, similar to the way, it's funny I use the car analogy, because similar to that car analogy and sticking on that, men desire bedroom intimacy in terms of, getting themselves off more than women, in the same way that guys love driving more than women. Well, women love being in the passenger seat and have a guy drive. Guys, for the most part, a lot of them love cars. They love to drive. They love, being in a nice car. They love having fun with the car, this and that. My point to that is women love being in the car with the guy, but they don't necessarily want to be the one behind the driver's seat. And I'm saying that to say, not about being in control. I'm saying that to say, the bedroom means more for a guy than the woman. The woman is gonna need bedroom activity, just like a woman needs to be driven around in a car. But there's a difference between the one who's like, I need to be in the car to get from point A to point B, which is kind of like what the bedroom is for women to a degree. And then there's the ones who, for a guy, it's like, okay, I'm enjoying this to a higher level. And I'm not saying women don't enjoy the bedroom, but what I'm saying is that if they didn't know of that enjoyment to that level, going back to what I said before, at 18 and getting run through by the guy who has all this experience, if they didn't know any better, they would enjoy what they're experiencing. Which is why you have a lot of women who will say, yo, let me get a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla to get from point A to point B. And you got a man who goes, you know what? Nah, I need that fancy sports car. Why? Because the same way they view it when it comes to the bedroom. The guys need it. The women, it's only the bar that they've been set to. Now, you put a woman inside a Range Rover, now she's going to be like, I want a Range Rover all the time. But it's the bar that's set for them that they stay at, where the guy is going to always desire whatever it is that he likes. And if that made sense, if it came across correctly. So my point to say that is that when a woman should understand that while you think that that player type is pleasing you, he's not pleasing you, he's pleasing himself. And though you might be pleased in the process, just understand that that guy sees you as expendable to be thrown away 9 times out of 10, which is why he is the player type and run through a bunch of women, and why the regular or the usually most guys, the average guys, are a little more particular in the way they want their bedroom play. Don't view it as that necessarily they're being picky in a bad way, but it's that they're not viewing you as a rental car. So they're like, I want the exact things that I want, because I plan on holding on to this for a long time. So I have to make sure that it gives me what I want because of the long-term value. I'm not throwing it away. Player guy is like, I'm going to throw you away real soon. So I don't care if I run through you, have a bunch of fun, do it whatever way. I don't care if you even say, you go, I like it like this. And he goes, okay, cool. I don't mind doing it that way, because guess what? I still get to do all the things I wanted to do and then toss you away afterwards. 9 times out of 10, he enjoys doing a lot of those things anyway with you that you might like, because he has an insatiable appetite that is so far reached that he's not going to just have a particular thing. He gets bored with that. That was for him in the beginning days when he was probably like 18 years old, even below that, doing conventional stuff, and then moving on to, I got to do all this extreme stuff. So just know that difference in the dynamic of the mentality of both guys. So while you think on one hand you're getting the benefit, you need to understand that dynamic of the mentality to know that while your dream guy, you might say, is the guy who's doing all this crazy stuff in the bedroom and pleasing you, that comes with the dynamic of the guy who's like, you are rental and can be, thrown away afterwards. I'm renting you. I'm throwing you away afterwards. That mentality, 9 times out of 10, will come directly hand in hand with that kind of way in the bedroom, because he's pleasing himself. He's not pleasing you. He just happens to enjoy the things that you enjoy because he has an insatiable appetite and likes to know that he's really good at doing what he does. But it's not being good at it to please you. It's being good at it to please himself and to please the masses. So that way people look at him and go, you're great, which is potentially or in turn pleasing himself to hear that he's great. Understand that difference. I hope what I'm saying is getting across and the point of it is making sense. I'm not going to be the one to try to tell you that the better option is the one who's not doing those things. But in truth, if you weren't already exposed to a higher level of experience that makes you then go, I want that, you could potentially have a great happy life with somebody where the guy says, I know exactly what I want and I want it particular like this. And if you weren't exposed to something more over the top than that, you'd go, okay, I respect what he wants. I'm okay with it. And guess what? Because he's buying to keep, not to rent, he's going to be like, I'm keeping you forever. And it's a better long-term investment. So I just want to throw that out there from that perspective when it comes to that, and just to give you guys a little bit of insight on that, because I know that, the average man may not know that, or might sometimes feel like, okay, I'm very particular in what I like, and sometimes women bash me for it. The player type knows it. The woman may not know it about the player type and might just think, well, he's all about pleasing me. And the average guy who may not be willing to do all these extra things to please me, he's lame in some way. This is just to give a perspective on all angles so you understand where that's coming from, how that works. Because often nowadays, women are that kind of same way, where they're very particular in what they want and what they don't want. Not realizing that since, like I mentioned earlier, the bedroom stuff usually means more for a guy. It's more of a requirement. If the woman is not more flexible in that department than the man is, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna make the relationship not as much work. And granted, a woman can't be as flexible after she's had that experience with that type of guy. There's almost no going back. But this is also why, and you can watch this in other videos, separate videos from my videos, separate videos from other people, other content creators, that once you've had that experience, it ruins it for life, because now you can't go back. But the only guys who are going to be giving you that experience are also the guys who are not built for long-term relationships. They're built for mass mating. So just keep that in mind. A little bit of food for thought. And any comments you guys have, questions, post them down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.